believed it would. And from when we fished here before, I knew it had a fairly decent population of smallmouth. Not near as many, or as big as the largemouths, but smallmouths are real aggressive, and I've had a lot of experience fishing for them at home in the spring, so I really targeted them, and I think I weighed in the majority of my catch was smallmouth for the week, so it really worked out. And the big thing is that there was really nobody else fishing that pattern, and so I had a lot of those areas. I was able to move around the lake and cover a ton of water. I mean, it wasn't like there was a lot of them in one area. You'd have to fish, troll a lot of bank to find one, but when you find one, you can catch them and usually be a pretty nice one. I just worked hard to adapt every day to the conditions, I was always looking for fish that were on beds, but there's so many fish that you could just see cruising here and swimming down the bank, and the biggest ones I caught this week were those kind of fish. They were sight fishing for them, but they weren't spawning, A lot of them were up there on the bank looking for shad. The shad are just starting to spawn here a little bit, and that's the primary forage in here is shad and crayfish. They're really key on them this time of year, so it's something that I look for every spring.
Did it meet your expectations? What you were looking for? I mean, did you think you'd see this many fish when you got here? So.
I saw how many fish were in here when I was here before. I was amazed by the sheer numbers. We were here kind of at a late post-spawn time, and you could just see them all over the docks, and today was incredible how many big fish. I didn't really realize how many quality fish, how many 4 to 7 pounders are in here. I seen so many 6-pounders today, it was frustrating, that you couldn't make them bite. They're very smart in here.
Talked on 3 days about how hard you had this tournament. Does that make you appreciate the victory more?
I definitely do. I mean, this is one that I'm real proud of for the decisions that I made out there in the water, because it never was easy. I mean, I never had a day where I started out catching them good off the get-go or anything. I basically searched every day for something new, and as the weather warmed up, I went back to some of the areas that I looked at earlier in the week where there was beds but no fish. New fish moved up, so it seemed like every time that I'd make a change or things would go well, I'd catch a good fish. I'd do a new area, and it worked out. So I was telling Harold earlier, I fish lots of tournaments, and so many times you'll be in an event and little things just don't go your way. Fish just follows and doesn't bite, or it comes off, or somebody pulls in front of you and catches one. Your timing's a little off. And this week, everything is just really fell into place. And I don't know how you duplicate that or you plan it. It's just one of those magical weeks for me where everything that I did was right, and every decision I made was the right one. And it really worked out. So I'm extremely proud of this one. I've won tournaments before that you're maybe a little sloppy or whatever, but this one right here, I fished extremely well this week, and it really worked out.
Does it make you appreciate the fish that you had to work to conquer?
Oh, this is a great lake. I mean, this is right up my alley. It's very similar to the stuff that I grew up on at home. We don't have reservoirs in Michigan, but we've got a lot of deep, clear, natural lakes that have a lot of rock like this. So, I mean, it's just like the fish do the same things at home as they do here. The difference is, really a little bit in the habitat. We don't have near the docks like this. We have a lot of vegetation in our lakes and things like that. But it's the clarity, though, and the smallmouth, and the way being able to see those fish. It's very much the same as a lot of our lakes.
Kevin, talk a little bit about the smallmouth areas. I was with you for a day, so I kind of know where you were finding them, but talk a little bit about that.
Well, typically, the largemouths like to move back into a protected pocket or back into the back of a creek, and they'll get behind a dock and they'll move up shallow and spawn, or by a stump or something. Where smallmouths, they really like to be closer to the main lake. So I was really targeting gravel bottom areas, and the problem for me is I don't know where it's gravel and where it's rock in this lake. I just had to actually fish a point, and you could fish one point and it'd be gravel and there'd be 3 or 4 beds on it, and you might catch a fish or 2 off it, and then the next 3 points next to it are all rock or all clay or just not the right kind of water. So you really had to check it all. But everything that I was fishing was main lake, the side of a main lake point, or a secondary point close to the mouth of a major creek. So really way out. And what helps in that too is right now there's a lot of pollen coming out of the water, which makes it harder to see. And these main lake areas have a lot less pollen, or it tends to blow back into the pocket. So, you know, I mean, it's something that I thought about, and once I seen a few smallmouth in practice, you know, and I found 3 smallmouth in practice total. But I knew what they were kind of keying on when I found them, and I thought because it was so cold in practice, the water temperature was so cold that they would be coming, and they did every day. I mean, definitely understanding smallmouth and growing up fishing for them, it was the main reason that I was able to be successful, because I just kept sticking with it. You know, I mean, beds that were empty 3 days ago have one on it today, and several fish that I caught more than one fish off the same bed, you know, and that's what the smallmouth will do. So, you know, one of them I found the first day of practice. I fished that same spot, checked it the first day of the tournament, checked it the second day of the tournament, and the fish was back the third day of the tournament. So, you know, I mean, that's just the way they are. They're real finicky, and they come up and down. Typically, they spawn 2 or 3 times. They'll come up and spawn, drop a few eggs, move off, and they'll come back again. And they'll use the same nest a lot of times year after year. So, just knowing that helped me have the confidence to go back to some of the areas where I'd seen something cool.
We know that last time especially there was some issues with pleasure boat traffic and a lot of. What did you find again for you fishing kind of main lake areas? Did it affect you at all this time?
You know, it does make it a little bit harder to see at times. The biggest thing that it really helped with is the bass that were up there feeding on the shad spawn or chasing these shad on the main lake. It kind of kept it stirred up there, and it helps things in the afternoon. So, you know, fish in a lake like this are not bothered by this boat traffic. I mean, I fish lots of lakes at home that have the same kind of traffic, and the best times to be fishing during the day, I mean, nighttime is the best on a lake like this because it's clear, but the best times to fish during the day is when it's rocking and rolling. I mean, the bass know they have an advantage over their prey when things are getting turned up, and, you know, and everything's the banks are getting washed and getting a little bit stained up. They're up there on patrol then, so it's actually, yesterday it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Today I had a hard time making the fish bite. They were so focused on spawning, they were still up there. I just had a hard time getting them to eat.